Hello, Heart Nation. Welcome to another live episode of Carla's channel, Heart to Heart Inspiration. I am your host, Carla J, and we are continuing our discussion about Black excellence. Uninspired. That was a blooper. Unfiltered. Unfiltered stories about Black history, shared by our none than other Queen Suga, who unfiltered stories about Black history, shared by our this is live, everybody. This is unedited, so we got all kind of stuff going on today. Surprise. Okay, all right. Okay, we're gonna take two. Take two. Okay, today is. Okay. All right. Okay. Cut it off. Okay. Queen Suga is having technical issues. Okay, already now. Sorry. So again, we are live, Heart Nation. Thank you for patiently waiting on us. Had some technical issues. So this is part 3 of our Black Excellence, hearing unfiltered, inspiring stories about our Black history from the voice of Chicago native Queen Suga. She grew up, was a young adult during the 1950s on up through the 70s is particularly important because it was a time of the Black movement in Chicago on the South Side. And she's going to tell us more about that. So last week, Queen Suga ended up telling us about her journey from going to the registered nurse program, which was new to Chicago colleges. So she's going to continue that today. Thank you, Queen Suga, for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I'm enjoying myself immensely.
Yay. Thank you. And I just want to mention that Queen Suga told me these stories years ago when I was a young girl, way before some of these stories ever got, published. We talked about Emmett Till and his story. Before those things were even on TV, she told me about some of these stories, and that's why I wanted her to be on the show to share those stories and those perspectives. So today, we're going to start off where we left off last week. So you were telling us that you started into the registered nurse program, the associate degree program at one of the city colleges of Chicago. And tell us how that went for you. So you got into this new program, and what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Well, I got into the program successfully. That was a great goal of mine, and I was able to successfully, pass the admission process. So I was happy about that. Okay. Got into the program and met. Actually, I remember on one of our first days, we kind of were sitting in a circle introducing ourselves. And I will admit, I just want to, throw in there that while sitting in that circle introducing ourselves, I did meet one of my lifelong friends. Her and I remained friends throughout the rest of our lives. She has since passed on and made her transition. Okay. However, while we were sitting in that circle, I discovered that I had actually worked with her mother, who was a licensed practical nurse at the hospital where I was working as a licensed practical nurse. Okay, so that was a connection for
an us. LPN, and you met her, but then you also discovered that you were a co-worker of her mother. Absolutely. Who was an LPN. Awesome. Okay.
Yes. Her mother had been a mentor to me at the hospital where we were working. So it was a joy to meet her. And I also knew her brother, as a matter of fact. So but I had never met her before. So as school went on, we actually became best friends. One of my good friends.
Okay, perfect. Well, may she rest in peace and may her legacy live on. And so you're in this program, it's new, and you would think that everything is all going well in this program, but you told me about a situation, a challenge that occurred. What was that?
Okay. So I entered the college and we met, made connections. And guess what? I was elected class president.
Oh, okay. Queen Suga.
Hey, so one of the challenges that came up was that there wasn't enough instructors to accommodate the nursing students for one of the classes that we needed to graduate. And as you probably know, there's a course schedule that has to be met in order for you to graduate on time and, meet all the requirements that you need for graduation. So this was very crucial to our continuing and completing the program.
Okay.
So we went to the administration at the college. We met with that person, the administrator, and we could not come to an agreement or get the approval for the instructors for the classes that we needed in order to complete our program.
Really?
All right.
So that was pretty scary, I imagine.
Yes.
Made you nervous. You have this new program, it's up and running. You all are all gung-ho and everything, but now you don't have enough instructors. So now it's going to impact your graduation and progressing through these courses.
Right. And
Wow.
I add, the program was very stressful. We had different midterms and things that we had to pass and final exams. And so, as you probably have seen on the movies, you're looking on the board to see what your score was, to see if you're able to continue in the program. Because if you fail one of those finals, you are not able to continue at that time in the program. So we were all under stress and having this issue of not having enough instructors to teach this course. I believe it was biology. I don't remember exactly, but this was stressing us out more. So like I said, we went to the administrator of the college and we weren't able to come to an agreement, or he wasn't able to approve the funds or the instructors that were needed.
Wow.
So we said, so what can we do?
Okay.
So we came up with the bright idea that since we could not get this approved at the school level, at the college level, well, you know what? We'll just go down to the City Colleges of Chicago headquarters.
Okay.
And we'll just all go inside. I don't remember exactly how many students that we had, but it was quite a few of us.
Okay.
A good amount. So we went down, we said, okay, so we planned the day we were going to go.
Okay.
And we said we were just going to go in. I told them, okay, we're going to go inside. Everybody's going to be very mannerable, quiet. And we're going to just sit in this lobby way in the office and see, we're going to ask if we can see the chancellor of the city colleges to discuss this problem and come up with a solution.
Okay, you all wasn't playing around. You wasn't playing, President.
No, this is serious business here.
That's right.
We got to meet these life goals and get our livelihood, moving along. Yeah. So we did. We went down to the City College office, City Colleges of Chicago office. We entered a very nice office building, I will say. So we entered, and my classmates, they sat all around, the office space, and were very quiet. There wasn't enough seats for all of them to sit, so some of them did sit on the floor.
Okay.
So thus I sit in.
Okay.
And I registered with the receptionist and told her that we were there to speak with the chancellor.
Okay. Wow.
And so after a while, it wasn't long, after a brief wait, I was told by the receptionist that I and I believe the vice president could go in and talk with the chancellor, but the rest of the students would have to remain in the lobby.
Okay. All right.
So I went in and we spoke, and guess what?
What?
Our problem was resolved. So,
all right. Yay.
So they said that he said that he would take care of things, and we would be accommodated, or, they would make the necessary adjustments to the instructors or whatever needed to be done so that we could complete this program timely.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. And class president, you did that. And of course, you had the buy-in of the rest of the students and things like that. So congrats to you. That was awesome. You had a city, and I think that was the theme. It seems like pretty much during that time frame, 60s and 70s, the sit-ins, boycotts, things like that were the pipeline that you use to make a difference and use your voice. So that's what you all did. So that's awesome. I do just want to take a quick pause, and I want to say, if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe and turn on those notifications for when we go live. And Queen Suga, during our exercise challenge a couple of weeks ago, we did have some people that we wanted to recognize. And we had someone, as we are giving the Spirit Golden Award to, and that is for Doris Jones, who typically joins every week, and she always has great inspiring words. So we just want to take a moment to give our Spirit Award to Doris Jones. Thank you so much for watching. And also one other viewer, and that was Ryan Jenkins. She also was very consistent in watching during that time as well. So we thank you so much for joining in. Now, getting back to our story. So you were successful with that, and then were you able to go ahead and graduate? Was there any other hiccups along the way during that journey?
No, I don't believe any other hiccups occurred along that journey, at least not major ones. So we were able to move forward with the program. We did have a pretty large class of nurses that were student nurses, that became nurses that were successful in graduating. And I just want to add that I also was the valedictorian.
Oh, right.
I'm not bragging, but just a fact. Blackhistory.
Okay. I'm not bragging, but I'm just letting you know. Okay. Okay. So you were really an instrumental part to the nursing program at the college that had just started. You were a pioneer for that program. You really were some of the glue that held it together and helped students and the whole class be successful. So kudos to you, class president and valedictorian. All right now. All right. So now you're in the workforce, and was it pretty easy for you to get a job? What happened after that, after you graduated?
Well, after I graduated, I actually did continue my work at a hospital where I had been working as a licensed practical nurse. Okay. So now I'm a graduate nurse, and I'm just waiting on my state board to come through. So during those days, it wasn't like it is now. We did not take it. We didn't take our state board examination on a computer. It was a very stressful process. Mm-hmm. We had to actually we went to, I believe, in the Rosemont area. We took our licensure exam there. It was a very extreme process. Let me tell you, it was like the Men in Black or something. These men came in. We were sitting in our seats at the desk waiting to take the test, after which, we had already showed our ID, our state license, and all that type of thing. So we're sitting there waiting, and these men enter carrying suitcases.
Wow. And
there was a table. Long tables were set up at the front of the room, and they have these special locks that were handed keys that they go through this process of unlocking these suitcases, which held the licensing exams.
Okay. All right.
So
very different today. And it was different for me too. When I took my state board's exam, it was a 2-day process. We had to spend the night at a hotel downtown. It was not on the computer either. So, but today it's on a computer. It cuts off when you get so many right or something like that. They say things like that. But you all hit the Men in Black. This sounds like Air Force One or something, where they got the special locks and everything. So you all are in there. You're seeing this. Sounds pretty intimidating.
Yes, it was. I almost fainted before they even handed me my test. I had to keep telling myself, calm down, calm down. Mm-hmm. So that process, so you take the test, And then it takes, I don't even remember how many weeks it takes for you to get your notification back, and they mail it to you. Okay. And I remember somebody had called me this particular day, and they were like, the state board results are back. The mailman is delivering them now. Okay. Oh my goodness. So I was like, where's my mailman at? So we were looking, and I was hoping that I was going to be able to go to work that day before the mailman got there, but I definitely wasn't going until he got there and I got my results. But needless to say that I did get my results. Okay. And I did pass. So
all right.
I just went back up 1 second. I know it's only a 30-minute show, but when I did go back to my job, because I had taken a leave while I was taking the RN program. Okay. And when I got ready to return from my leave, my educational leave, they asked me if I wanted to return as a LPN or as a licensure pending nurse, meaning I was waiting for my registered nursing license to come through. Okay. And I told them no, I was going to come back as a graduate nurse. And so they told me that, well, if you fail your state board exam and you came back as a graduate nurse, then you won't be able to stay employed here. Oh, wow. So you'll lose that licensed practical nurse position.
Oh, wow. So the pressure was on.
Yeah, the pressure was on, but I stuck to my guns and I said, well, I'm just coming back as a graduate nurse.
All right.
And so that was what I did. Because, there were some other nurses that were, of course, waiting on the results from the boards. Because remember, like I said before, even if you have an associate degree or a bachelor's degree, that we all RNs take the same state board exam.
Right. Correct.
So all of the graduate nurses were awaiting their test, the BSN graduate nurses as well. Okay. So anyway, the results did come back, and thankfully, I did pass on the first try.
All right. Yes. That was awesome. Congrats to you. And that's always a big thing. For you out there, you're going to always hear people talking about when they took their boards. They passed on the first try or not and things like that. It's kind of like your bragging rights as well. But, if you don't pass on the first try, keep going. Don't let that define you. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. Okay. So thank you for sharing that. So what happened after that? You came back did you get your results before you went back to work that day?
Yes, I did. All right. I waited. I had called and told them that I might be a little late today because I'm waiting on the mailman to come with my results.
All right.
But I did get them. I was working a 3 to 11 shift at that time. So I was able to get my results and go to work on time. All right. And I had passed. So I was very, very happy about that.
Okay, good. And you mentioned a special friend. You did not say her name. It's up to you if you want to say her name. But did she also pass the exam?
Yes, she did. Her name is Phyllis Berry.
May she rest in peace.
Yes, she also passed her exam as well.
All right. So your best friend that you met, and she passed as well. Awesome. So what happened next? You passed. You went to work. What's going on now? And I don't know if you need to skip down through some other stories or occurrences, but we're all ears.
Okay, so I'll skip down some. So I'm back working at the hospital where I worked at before with the waiver LPNs and all this type of things. So I started working on the OB unit.
Okay. OB is obstetrics.
Right. I started working on the obstetrics unit. And actually, we kind of like floated between the newborn nursery and actually taking care of pregnant mothers or mothers who had recently delivered.
Okay.
So at this particular hospital, there were 2 different sections, where obstetric patients stayed. Okay. So on one side, which was the older side, it was, there originally for the building. And then there was a newer side that was newer, of course. So the thing was that on the older side, it housed only African American mothers and patients.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then on the newer side, housed non-African American mothers and patients.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. And so the newborn nursery was also on that unit as well. Mm-hmm. So what would happen at feeding times, the nursery staff, I was one of them, and we would take the babies to the mothers of the non-white patients on the newer side. We would take them, their babies, to the room.
Okay, wait, back up. So during the time for the babies to eat, you all would take the babies, you said, to the newer side?
Yes.
So that is the white side.
That's the white side.
Okay. Right. And I'm sorry, we're talking in black and white. Sorry, this is just a way of explaining what it was at that time.
Right. So that was the white side. So we would wrap up the babies, and all of those rooms on the new side were private rooms.
Oh, wow.
So we would wrap up the babies at feeding time, and we would take the babies to the mother's room, and they could feed their babies in the privacy of their room. So they didn't have to get up. And after the feeding time, we would go back, pick up the babies, and bring them back into the nursery.
Okay.
Now, the mothers that were on the other side, the older side, we were
the black side.
The black side, right. We were not allowed to take the babies to those mothers.
Oh, really?
Right. We couldn't take them their babies. So we were instructed that the mothers would come to the newer side, to the conference room, and they all would sit in the same conference room around the table.
Okay.
And we would take their babies to them in the conference room. Okay. And that's where they would feed their babies.
Okay.
So there was no privacy for them to feed their babies or anything like that.
So they had to, and why do you think that was? Was there construction going on the older side? Was the conference room on the newer side better, bigger? Why do you think that was?
Well, there was no construction going on.
Okay.
I can only speculate as to why it was going on. I don't know, but I do know that definitely the treatment was different.
Okay.
And we would even ask, can we take the babies over to the other side? And we were told no. Mm-hmm. We were instructed that even if a mother on the black side said that they weren't feeling well enough to come over to feed their baby on this side in the conference room, we were instructed to tell them, we will feed your baby in the nursery.
Oh, wow. So even if they didn't feel well, they didn't have that option of their baby coming to them. They had to go to the general room with everyone.
Yes, because they had to walk over.
Okay, and they had to walk over.
They had to
just
walk
after
over.
Having their baby.
Yes, just after having their babies, they had to walk over.
Okay.
So I could understand, why sometimes they may not feel like coming out of their room and then coming down to walk.
Okay.
Over to that side to feed their babies.
Wow.
So
that sounded like a discriminatory practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel it was discriminatory. And that really bothered me a lot. And it bothered some of the other nurses as well.
Okay.
It just didn't seem right. It didn't seem fair. And we were perfectly willing to walk over and give them their babies and go back and pick them up. It wasn't a problem of staffing or anything like that. Just like there was no reason for it to be a black side and a white side.
Okay.
It was not based on, public and private.
Okay.
Because everybody on the new side was not what you want to call private patients. If they were white, they went on the new side.
Okay.
If they were black, they went on the other side.
It wasn't if they had private insurance or Medicaid or anything like public aid or anything like that. Okay.
No, it was not.
So, okay, so what happened? You all dealt with this, and this was in the 70s, I believe,
Yes.
right now, right? This is the 70s.
Yes, this is in the 70s. This is almost like the late 70s. And so this went on for a couple of years while I was working there. And it wasn't a new practice when I came. They had been doing this. But anyway, it went on for a while. And then I believe some white, well, I know, not believe, some white medical students came and they saw this practice and it disturbed them.
Oh, okay.
And so they set about the business of, I don't want to say complaining, but they complained and went to people and this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it was changed.
Oh, wow. So that was good. So, it took about this group of medical students who happened to be white.
Yes.
And who happened to be able to make enough noise and help fight for the rights, for equal rights.
Yes.
And that's awesome. And that's what we're talking about today. I don't know how many of you in the audience have even heard of a story like this or knew that these types of things are happening. And that's why I'm so happy to share this segment, this series on Black excellence, unfiltered stories. This is what it's all about, because you get a chance to hear just raw stories. And this was something, and it's kind of crazy to talk in black and white these days, right? We're all about equal rights. We want to, make sure that no one feels like they're just harping on, things that happened in the past. But it's good to know the history, because Black history is America's history. That's right. So like with a lot of things that happened, it took white people who cared enough about equal rights and discrimination that was happening to help build some of these bridges. So kudos to them during that time to make it happen. And so that was one of the things that you encountered. And did things get better after that? Were you still at that hospital?
Yes, I stayed at the hospital. I was still working, and things got a lot better on that floor, because now it was different. We didn't have that separation. As a matter of fact, I think what they changed it to was that the old side was made like the high risk side.
Oh, okay.
So babies that mothers whose babies weren't in what they call the well baby nursery, mm-hmm. and were in like more critical care nursery, which was on the other side, those mothers were housed on that side along with their babies in the nursery. Okay. So it was made different, and so it was no longer separated by race.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a positive move. So
that's awesome. And today, even years later, Black women have the highest mortality rate from birth and pregnancy outcomes than any other race. And it's not what they're discovering with the research is not just because, there's something wrong that Black women are doing. It's access to care, and it's also discriminatory practices that are not being done, that are equal for all races. And so there's a discrepancy among the type of care that's being provided. But we'll get into that during another series when we're talking about maternal health in the United States. So now that's going on. What's going on in your life right now? What's particularly, noteworthy for you?
Noteworthy for me right now?
During that time.
During that time. So I saw that was happening there. After I kind of found out what was going on, I discovered that actually a civil rights bill had been passed earlier to stop the kind of practices that were being done at that hospital by separating that were receiving funds. So if the hospitals were receiving federal funds, they were not to engage in this discriminatory practices.
Wow.
I didn't know that at that time.
Okay.
I just knew what was happening.
Because I believe that's the civil rights bill. I don't remember the exact year, but I want to say like 1964 mm-hmm. or something like that. I'm not too sure. So maybe that's why that group of medical students were able to make an impact during that time. So mm-hmm. during that time, also, what about your personal life? I know we talked before, and you told me a little bit about your pregnancy. I believe you had a pregnancy during this time as well.
Mm-hmm. So my personal experience was I had a baby at another hospital, not the one where I was working at. Okay. And I know I was not a public patient.
Okay. Public aid patient?
I was not a public aid patient. Okay. And so I was private paying. We had paid to have the delivery at that particular hospital. Paid cash, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Because we did not have insurance coverage, and they told us the price that it would be to have a baby at that hospital, and we paid that. And we had to have it paid by the time of the expected delivery.
Wow.
So every time I went for an appointment, they gave me a little book. Mm-hmm. And when I would go, I would see the cashier, make my payment, and they would mark it in the book.
Wow. So no payment plan. You had to pay right then and there.
Yeah, I had to pay before I had the baby.
Okay.
And so I was told that when I came in for delivery that I must bring this little book. I believe it was blue. Mm-hmm. And they told me I had to have that book when I came in to have the baby. And if I did not have that book, then I would not be able to have my baby there.
Wow.
So I was really frightened that I was going to forget this book. So in my hospital bag, the bag that you pack to take with you when you go to the hospital to have your baby, I kept checking, to make sure that I have this book in there because I didn't want to be, turned away.
Right.
So I did have the baby at the hospital.
Was that, do you know if that was a practice for everyone or was it just you, or that was just their practice for everyone? Was it just blacks, whites, or?
To be honest, I really don't know. I was kind of young and I really didn't know. So I just did as they asked.
That's right.
And so I went in the hospital. I did have the baby. And actually, I was in a ward.
Okay.
So
a ward is a unit.
A ward is a unit they have. It's not even like a double unit where you just might have a roommate. So I believe it must have been like, I want to say maybe like 6 people.
Right.
In the room.
To a ward.
When
I did my clinicals at Cook County Hospital in Chicago, they had wards during that time. Okay. And it was a number of people on the unit. Right. Patients. Mm-hmm. No privacy. It was, everybody was in that room together. Okay. In their bed.
Everybody was in the same room, in their beds. We were all in this room. And I'll just mention it was not the county hospital. Okay. This was a private hospital.
Okay.
So we were in the room, and I got to tell you, I was kind of nervous because I had never been in that type of situation before with people I didn't know, all in the room together. And so anyway, one time they had said that they were going to be given a class for the mothers to they were going to demonstrate giving the baby a bed bath. Okay. And so we had to go, they told us to come down to the nursery if we wanted to see this demonstration. Okay. So I said, okay, being inquisitive, new mom. So I decided to walk down to the nursery to see the demonstration. So when I got down to the nursery to see the demonstration, I noticed that it was a lot of white women there watching the demonstration. It was outside the nursery. You couldn't enter. Okay. But in my ward and on that floor, it was only black women. Oh, okay. So I was surprised to see all of these white women watching the demonstration. So I'm saying to myself, so where did all of these people come from? Mm-hmm. So come to find out that actually they were housed on a different floor. Okay. And so again, the white people were on one floor and the black people were on another one.
Wow. So this was happening at this hospital as well.
Happening at this hospital.
But were you able to attend the class?
I was able to attend the class because, I was able to attend it. Everybody could attend. You just stood outside the nursery that was enclosed in glass. Okay. And we watched the class. But I was able, but I was just shocked that it was so many white people there and I had not seen them. So again, in retrospect, looking at, this was after, that civil rights bill had been passed. Okay. That if they're receiving federal funds, they are not to engage in this type of behavior or discrimination, but it was still going on, and they were finding a way to do it even after the bill was passed. Wow. So I don't know how things were resolved at that particular hospital because, of course, after I had the baby, I left, went home, and went on. I didn't work there and went on. But I will say that it was some years later that I was working at the other hospital and saw this type of practice going on where they were separating the patients. So,
still going on, even though the civil rights bill had passed, you know, for those discriminatory practices, separative practices were not to continue. Well, Queen Suga, I'm glad that you lived through it all. You're able to tell us these inspiring stories. And I say inspiring because it reminds us of what was and what is and what is to come. And it's not to make any certain group of people feel down, bad, sad, anything like that, or to bring up negative thoughts, but it's really education. This is education. It's our history, and it's America's history, not just Black history, and to remind us where we've come from as a country. So that's always inspiring, and how far we still have to go for equal rights and discriminatory practices to end, and equal access to healthcare. But again, thank you, Queen Suga, for coming on. I appreciate you so much. And we're going to be closing out Black History Month soon. So I'm so excited. And I know you have more stories to share. And kudos again, you're class president and the valedictorian of your nursing class. That's so awesome. And again, want to remind everybody to like and subscribe to the channel. And a big shout out again to Doris Jones, our Spirit Award winner, and Ryan Jenkins, another Spirit Award winner. And we thank you all for watching, and we will talk again next week. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon, Heart Nation. Bye, Heart Nation.